Thank you for tuning in to the best parenting show on the internet, Post Daily Dose.
It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post.
Hey, good afternoon, Facebook family. Welcome to another episode of Post Daily Dose with me, your trusted parenting advisor, faithful guidance servant on the healing journey. What's my name? Big Papa Bryan+Post. Hope you guys are having a tremendous Tuesday. Guess what? You totally missed it yesterday. I didn't miss it. You guys missed it. I was chilling with Snoopy. Me and Snoopy were hanging out on the street corner in Santa Rosa. And we were like, hey, it's Daily Dose time. And Snoop's like, I want to say hello to Facebook people. And so we popped on Daily Dose. And I get this little screen of myself. And then it says live. And it looks like everything's perfect. And I don't see you guys. I just see me. And so because it said live, I'm just like, well, maybe you'll catch the recording. Well, lo and behold, I don't know what happened. I don't know, maybe Facebook was playing tricks on me or what, but it didn't record anything except the most important part is choose love at the end of the talk. So let me try it again today. You cannot parent successfully from a regressed place was the topic of yesterday and now today. You cannot parent. I thought about this over the weekend. It just kind of came to me. I wrote it down, so I remembered I want to talk to you guys about it. You cannot parent successfully from a regressed place, and that is trying to parent in a moment of stress, and trying to successfully parent in a moment of stress, trying to teach a child in a moment of stress, trying to intervene in a situation in a moment of stress, is probably one of the single biggest challenges that parents face. Hey, Stefan. Hello, sweet Millie Davis. Hello there, Stefan. How you doing there in the Netherlands? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I had a poor connection. It just kept saying it was live. Who knows? So I'm here. We're all blessed. So nice to see you, Millie Davis. Millie Davis was my principal for Post Academy in a school we started way back some years ago, 7-8 years ago, in Norfolk, Virginia. Millie's just an amazing individual, someone I've known a long time. So I think that one of probably the biggest struggles that parents have is, and then this is what we don't realize, and this is why I always say, in times of stress, you have to stop and breathe, because we don't realize that when our children are misbehaving, they're operating from a state of stress. That stress invites our own amygdalas into a state of stress. When we become stressed, we regress. And when we regress, we are no longer able to parent successfully because we are coming not from a parent place, but from a child place. And this is important. Yesterday I talked about back in the 70s and maybe early 80s, there was he was a therapist, psychologist. His name was Eric Berne, and he came up with a psychology model called transactional analysis, and basically it broke down any interaction into 3 states: a parent state, an adult state, and a child state. So in any given situation, you want to be coming, from a parent state or from an adult state. But the problem is, Eric Berne didn't know this because he didn't know about neuroscience. But the problem is when we're stressed, we come from a child place. And when you come from a child place, it doesn't matter how old you are. If you're coming from a child place and you're talking to a child, it's not going to be effective. Hello there, Kimberly Davis, and hello there, Tracy Little. It's not going to be effective. And so sometimes when you're interacting with your kids, you can't even come from a parent place, because a parent place is actually too threatening. Sometimes you just have to come from an adult place. And this is important in our conversations with other adults, is we want to come from an adult perspective. You don't want to engage with another adult like a parent, because then they're going to feel threatened. And then with sometimes with your children, you can't even come at them from a parent place because of the threat. So you have to come at them from an adult place. But the challenge to that is when we're stressed, we regress. And when we regress to earlier. Usually for us as parents, in my experience, we regress more to adolescence. And so if you have let's say you have a 12-year-old child, and you have a 12-year-old child who's stressed, and when your 12-year-old child stresses, they regress to 2. And then let's say you're 40 years old and you get stressed and you regress to 13. How effective can a 13-year-old be with a 2-year-old? You can't. And that is probably one of the single biggest challenges across the board that a lot of parents struggle with. Is it's in that moment-to-moment interaction where stress, your amygdala gets invited into stress like that. Remember, your amygdala is like a light switch. So the moment you get stressed, boom, your amygdala turns on and you regress. And it's automatic. And that's why it's so important that when that stressful experience occurs, the first thing you do is stop and take 3 to 10 deep breaths. That's why it's so important. Because if you don't, thank you, Tracy Little, for those 50 stars. Thank you so much. If you don't stop and take that deep breath, that first, that second, that third deep breath, and remember, see, your amygdala is going to tell you in the moment that it's a life or death situation. Your amygdala in the moment is going to say, hey, you got to survive, because that's all your amygdala does. Your amygdala does not think. Your amygdala is all emotional. Now, remember this for your kids. Your kids get stressed and they drop into that amygdala. They go into survival. Well, we can't follow them down the survival pathway, because then who's going to lead the other out of the forest, right? If you both go down that survival pathway and no one's thinking clearly and no one's using short-term memory, then not only can you not lead them out, but your brain can't teach their brain how to recover and how to respond in a more appropriate way. And this is why it takes repetition. Repetition is what's required to change the brain. And this is, this just becomes an ongoing challenge. I mean, we get into these negative feedback loops with our children, and we keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, and we have a really difficult time staying present and staying in our adult and parent roles, as opposed to dropping down in those child roles. And you may not even realize that you drop down into that child role. But if you're yelling, if you're screaming, if you're I froze up for a minute. If you're yelling and you're screaming and you're stressed out, you are not in the parent role and you're not in the adult role, you're in the child role. And so we've got to be able to let our children be children, and we've got to be able to keep ourselves up into that adult and that parent role. And the only way to do that, the most effective way to do that, is to be able to slow down and to breathe. And remember, in that moment, no one is going to die. No one's going to die. Your kids, the same way as we as parents, we do the same thing over and over and over again. We're not doing anything new. There really are no surprises. The only surprise is when our amygdala gets caught off guard and we regress. That's the only surprise. The actual behaviors, the actual expressions from our kids, those are not surprises. We should be used to those by now. But we get caught off guard, and then we regress, and then we end up creating those same old pathways, that same old conditioned experience over and over and over again. So you got to slow down, you got to breathe, you got to remember no one's going to die. And sometimes you don't say anything. And I know it's counterintuitive to the way you were raised, right? But that's why you're screaming and yelling and fussing, because that's what mom and dad did. Are we really doing anything different than what mom and dad did? When you're getting mad and when you're losing your caboodle, are you really doing anything different than mom and dad did? Probably not, because your amygdala is turning on your blueprints, and when that happens, you're just repeating the same experiences from your parents. Susie says, parenting better than I have all day while laying in my hammock. That's fantastic. Sometimes it's just best to go lay in your hammock. Just go lay in your hammock. That's parenting from the hammock. That should be a great show. So try to calm down. Try to slow down. Try to remember this is a journey. You know, it's a process. It's not an outcome. Your children aren't perfect. You wouldn't even be listening to this if your children were absent of trauma, right? So think about that. Your children are traumatized. Your children have experienced significant loss in their lives, significant hurt, and their brains are wired differently. So they're going to behave the way they behave. We don't have to continue behaving the way we behave. But if we do keep behaving the way we've always behaved, how can we really expect them to do anything different? We're the parents. We've got to lead the way. It is so very important. Yes, Stefan says, parenting from the hammock starting next January. I love it. I love it. I love it. I need a hammock. Okay, so that's it, guys. I hope you have a fantastic evening. I will see you tomorrow evening. And that's it. Remember, in any given situation, you always have two choices. You can continue to react from the same blueprints of stress and fear and overwhelm, because that's automatic, or you can stop, you can slow down, you can take 3 to 10 deep breaths. Remember, no one's going to die. No one is going to die. You will get through this moment. It may be really, really, really shitty, and it may seem really, really ugly, but you're going to get through the moment. And if you can do it a little bit different, you're literally giving your child's brain a new repetition. And it just takes repetition. We are changing their brain. We are parenting from the inside out. Big thing. Parenting from the inside out. And, that kind of reminds me of weight loss. When I start changing my eating and I start working out again, and I want my pants to start getting looser, they don't get loose. I want to start looking better in the mirror. I don't start looking better. And then if I get depressed and I just stop and I just go back to doing what I'm doing, I'm never going to lose the weight. But if I'll just stay the course, and what happens is one morning I put those pants on, and guess what? They're looser, because the change is happening from the inside. So you can't always see, when you're practicing a love-based approach, you don't always see like these outward big behavior changes. Your kids don't always just start come over and telling you how much they love you and kissing you, that you're the best parent in the world. It's inside changes. The inside shifts are occurring. And in my opinion, that's what's changing in the brain. The brain's changing, the heart's changing, and you just have to stay the course. And you have to take those 3 to 10 deep breaths, and you have to choose love. And I hope in every given possible moment you'll choose love. And when you don't, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Don't judge yourself. Just reflect on it. Reflect on when you didn't choose love and what happened, and reflect on what you could do better. That's how we get better. We just have to keep learning over and over and over and over and over again. God bless you. Big Papa loves you. I'll see you guys tomorrow.